There comes a moment when the air around you feels different, yet nothing outside has changed. You wake up sensing a quiet movement inside, a call that something within you is preparing to shift. Not a relocation of walls and roofs, but a movement of energy, a rearrangement of spirit. When this happens, you are already on the path to leaving your old life behind. For centuries, those who trained in silence and discipline knew this truth: before the body moves, the spirit moves first. In the old monasteries, we were taught that departure is never sudden. The signs appear softly, a restlessness that fades into calm, a certainty that grows without words. This stillness is not weakness, it is the signal of readiness. In this teaching, I will reveal how to recognize that moment, the true sign that you are about to step into a higher space of alignment. You will learn how the ancient path of self-mastery prepares you for transformation long before the world sees it. And I will share lessons rarely spoken outside the temple. How detachment sharpens focus, how discipline opens freedom, how silence itself becomes guidance. Stay until the end, because understanding this shift will not only prepare you for change, it will show you how to walk into it without fear. The peace you are feeling is not an ending. It is an awakening signal that your energy is already ahead of your circumstances. I am Shiheng Yi, and this is Shaolin Soulfire, a place where wisdom meets the world within you. If this message resonates with your journey, subscribe, join our path, and walk with awareness into the life that is already waiting for you. There was a time when storms would shake my thoughts before the wind ever reached my skin. I would prepare for loss, brace for pain, and tighten against what I could not control. Years later, I learned that the true test of mastery is not avoiding the storm, but standing within it, breathing, observing, and letting the mind stay unmoved while everything shifts around it. Change is the great sculptor of the human spirit. It carves away illusions, comfort, and old identities until only what is real remains. Yet most people fight this process. They grasp at the fading form of what once was. But when you begin to awaken, something subtle happens. Fear gives way to trust. You no longer see endings as punishment. You see them as transitions. The river does not mourn the mountain it leaves behind. It flows toward the sea because that is its nature. Peace during uncertainty is not a gift from the world. It is a discipline of the inner temple. It is trained through presence, through countless moments of watching thoughts rise and fall without chasing them. When awareness deepens, even chaos becomes a teacher. You begin to sense that behind every shift lies a quiet intelligence, guiding you to where your energy truly belongs. When the world feels unstable, remain still within, not frozen, but awake, grounded like a tree, with deep roots, bending but unbroken. The mind learns to listen rather than react. The heart learns to surrender rather than resist. In that balance, something miraculous occurs. Your inner and outer worlds begin to mirror each other. And in that harmony, you realize calm is not the absence of change, but the art of moving through it without losing yourself. There comes a point on the path where you stop seeing discipline as a cage and start recognizing it as a doorway. In the beginning, structure feels heavy. The mind resists patterns, the body seeks comfort, and the spirit longs for freedom without form. But true freedom does not grow in chaos. It is born in the quiet consistency of deliberate action. Long ago, the elders spoke of discipline as a rhythm, like the beating of the drum before a warrior enters stillness. Every repetition was not punishment, but a prayer. Each morning practice, each mindful breath, each act of order was a way to remind the self, I am here, awake, and participating in the creation of my life. When you begin to honor your routines, they transform from tasks into rituals. The moment you rise at the same hour, breathe with attention, or move with awareness, you are aligning the mind and body into harmony. What was once effort becomes ease. The habit that once confined you becomes the foundation that carries you forward when energy is low or doubt appears. Discipline refines perception. Through it, you start to notice subtle details. The pace of your thoughts, the tone of your emotions, the space between impulse and choice. This awareness is liberation. You are no longer ruled by moods or desires. You respond from clarity. And in that clarity, structure dissolves into freedom. You no longer need to force yourself to act. Your actions flow naturally, guided by presence. Discipline has trained your spirit to remain centered no matter where life leads. That is the quiet paradox of mastery. What once felt like restraint becomes the very essence of peace. There comes a season when holding on becomes heavier than the act of letting go. At first, the mind resists. It wants to understand, to fix, to keep the familiar close. But life has its own current, and when you stop fighting it, you begin to see that loss is not always a wound. Sometimes it is the hand that opens the next door. In the old teachings, letting go was never seen as weakness. It was the art of moving with the way, the natural flow that governs all things. The leaf does not argue with the wind when autumn arrives. It releases, trusting that its fall nourishes the soil for new growth. In the same way, when you release your old identities, the energy that once held you small begins to expand into new directions. This process cannot be forced. The harder you try to push something away, the stronger its shadow becomes. True release comes through awareness, through seeing clearly that something no longer aligns with who you are becoming. When understanding dawns, the grip loosens on its own. Letting go is a discipline of trust. It asks you to stand in uncertainty and still believe that life knows what it's doing. The space that empties is not a loss, it's preparation. It's where clarity enters. It's where silence begins to speak. And when you finally surrender, you realize you never truly lost anything. You only shed what was never meant to stay. What remains is lighter, freer, more aligned with the rhythm of your growth. This is not escape. It is evolution, the sacred movement of the soul as it learns to travel without fear, carrying only what is essential for the next step. There comes a point on the path when the noise outside no longer commands your movement. The opinions, the comparisons, the constant measuring of worth, they lose their hold. For so long, your energy has flowed outward, searching for approval, chasing echoes that never last. But when the mind grows quiet enough, a new direction appears, inward. This turning is not dramatic. It happens in silence, in small moments of awareness. You begin to sense the subtle difference between reacting and responding, between being led by noise and guided by presence. The ancient masters taught that the greatest journey is not across mountains or oceans, but through the terrain of one's own consciousness. Only there can true clarity be found. At first, the inward gaze can feel uncomfortable. You meet the parts of yourself you've avoided, the fears, the desires, the restless thoughts that crave distraction. But if you remain still and observe without judgment, something extraordinary happens. Your awareness strengthens. It becomes a light that no circumstance can dim. When attention rests within, you start to act from understanding, not impulse. Decisions become deliberate, words carry weight, and your steps feel guided rather than scattered. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are. Your stillness becomes your teacher. This is the foundation of inner mastery, to be anchored in awareness even as the world shifts around you. Like the moon reflected on water, calmness allows truth to appear clearly. And once you've touched that clarity, it becomes impossible to live as you did before. The storms may still come, but they no longer disturb your center. Your peace is no longer borrowed from the outside, it's built from within. There was once a teaching whispered among the elders: the hardest steel must know how to bend, or it will break. Strength without softness becomes harsh. Softness without strength becomes fragile. The path of mastery lies in uniting both, the firmness of truth with the gentleness of understanding. There was a time when strength was mistaken for dominance, for the ability to endure pain without showing emotion. But true strength is far quieter. It is found in restraint, in patience, in the steady breath held when anger wants to speak. Softness, too, is often misunderstood. It is not weakness. It is awareness expressed through kindness, even in moments of difficulty. To carry both sword and silence means to know when to act and when to be still. It is the wisdom of timing, striking only when alignment demands it, speaking only when truth needs a voice. The warrior who has not yet mastered softness fights every battle. The awakened one chooses them with care. This balance is forged through experience. Pain teaches strength, compassion teaches softness. Together they refine the spirit into something unshakable yet open, powerful yet peaceful. When you embody both, your energy becomes centered, not easily provoked, not easily drained. In this state, power no longer seeks attention, it simply is. Your presence speaks louder than your words. Your calm becomes influence. You can face truth without pride and offer love without fear of appearing weak. This harmony between the firm and the gentle is the mark of one who has walked through both fire and water and learned to become the space between them. There is a quiet wisdom hidden inside the simplest acts of living. Many search for enlightenment in distant temples or grand experiences, yet the masters always pointed back to the same truth. Awareness is found here, in the moment you are already in. When the mind slows enough to meet the present fully, even the smallest task becomes sacred. There was once a monk who spent years sweeping the same courtyard. When asked if he ever grew tired of it, he smiled and said, "Each time I sweep, I clear my own mind." That is the essence of presence, not doing for the sake of completion, but for the sake of awakening through the doing itself. When you walk with awareness, the ground beneath your feet feels alive. When you breathe consciously, the air becomes a teacher, reminding you that peace is not elsewhere. It is inhaled and exhaled right now. Washing a dish, folding a cloth, or writing a word, each can be a meditation when attention is pure. Discipline and mindfulness merge here. It takes training to stay present, to resist the mind's habit of rushing toward the next thing. But as you practice, a shift occurs, time expands, noise fades, and you begin to sense the quiet pulse of life beneath all activity. Presence in daily life is not about perfection. It is about intimacy with reality. Every ordinary moment becomes a meeting with the sacred, not because the act changes, but because you do. When awareness fills the space between one breath and the next, life stops being something to manage and becomes something to experience. This is the secret of inner mastery, to find divinity in the details and to live each moment as if it were the first and the last. There is a subtle shift that occurs when the body stops acting on habit and begins to respond to awareness. At first, it is almost imperceptible, a lighter step, a steadier breath, a sense of energy moving where it is needed. Yet this is the moment when mind and body begin to speak the same language. In ancient practice, every motion was treated as both exercise and meditation. Walking, stretching, even sitting in stillness was not done merely to pass the time, but to cultivate attention, balance, and harmony. The body becomes a mirror for the mind. Tension reveals distraction, ease reflects clarity. Slowly, you begin to notice how posture affects thought, how breath can steady emotion, how movement can awaken insight. Intentionality transforms ordinary gestures. The simple act of reaching, bending, or turning is no longer automatic. It carries awareness. Each step becomes a lesson, each pause a point of reflection. There is no need to hurry, no need to fill silence with action. The body learns patience, the mind learns to listen. Together they become an instrument of understanding, responsive and alive. This unity brings freedom. When body and mind move as one, energy flows smoothly through you, no longer trapped in tension or scattered by distraction. Decisions are made with clarity, actions emerge without effort, and the present moment feels fully inhabited. There is no separation between thought and motion. Every movement is purposeful, every breath intentional. To live in this way is to arrive constantly, not at some distant goal, but in the eternal now. The journey and the self are no longer divided. Life is no longer something to rush through. It becomes something to embody. Mastery is not in speed or strength, but in the quiet alignment of body, mind, and awareness. There comes a moment when the self you once served begins to feel small, as if it cannot contain the depth of what stirs within you. Comfort and recognition no longer guide your choices. They no longer satisfy the quiet hunger that has awakened. Something larger begins to call, a purpose that reaches beyond desire, beyond fear, beyond the ego's need to be seen. In the old teachings, maturity was measured not by what one possessed, but by what one contributed. The greatest leaders, the wisest teachers, and the most disciplined practitioners understood that life is an opportunity to reflect truth, embody compassion, and cultivate growth in oneself and in others. Motivation shifts from self-interest to service, from accumulation to alignment. When you act from this place, every choice carries weight. Even small gestures, a word spoken kindly, an act of patience, a moment of presence, ripple outward, touching more than you can ever know. The energy once trapped in seeking approval or avoiding discomfort is now redirected into action that matters. This transition does not happen suddenly. It is forged through discipline, through reflection, and through witnessing the consequences of actions motivated only by self. As you release attachment to reward, your intentions gain clarity. You begin to move in harmony with principles larger than yourself. Principles that have endured across generations: honesty, courage, compassion, and growth. Living with purpose beyond self is the hallmark of inner mastery. It is when your deeds are no longer about proving, possessing, or controlling, but about contributing, elevating, and nurturing. The soul grows quiet yet strong, and each step taken resonates with meaning. Ambition becomes refined into intention, and life itself transforms into an act of service, a journey where the self serves not as the center, but as a vessel for something far greater. There is a moment when the mind releases its grip on certainty. Every step no longer requires a map, every choice no longer demands full understanding. You begin to move forward simply because you have prepared, because you have trained, because the work has already been done within. Trust becomes your compass, quiet yet unwavering. In the old ways, the path was never fully visible. Those who walked it learned to feel the rhythm beneath their feet, to sense the currents of change, and to respond with calm precision. Knowledge of every detail was unnecessary. The practiced mind knew how to navigate the unseen by listening to the pulse of awareness. Fear begins to dissolve when preparation meets patience. Change is no longer a threat, it becomes an invitation. The obstacles that once seemed daunting now appear as guides, shaping your resilience, testing your focus, and strengthening your clarity. You understand that uncertainty is not chaos, it is the space in which growth occurs. Confidence grows quietly, without show. It is not pride, but a steady knowing that you are aligned with your own rhythm. Decisions are made without hesitation, actions emerge without struggle, and each movement carries purpose. This is the freedom of mastery, to walk forward unshaken, guided by inner awareness rather than external reassurance. The unseen path demands faith, but not blind faith. It requires discipline, reflection, and trust in the cultivation you have already undertaken. The signs are subtle: a calm heart, a steady mind, a body that moves with intention. When you feel this, you know it. You are ready. The journey ahead is uncertain, yes, but that uncertainty is no longer to be feared. It is the signal that you are evolving, that your inner work has prepared you to step fully into what comes next, with courage, clarity, and quiet confidence. There comes a quiet moment when you no longer feel the pull of urgency or the weight of expectation. Nothing extraordinary may occur outwardly, yet inside, everything has shifted. This is the first and most profound sign, a steady awareness that simply knows, I am ready. It is not a sudden miracle, nor a flashy revelation. It is subtle, almost imperceptible at first. Like the sun rising slowly behind the mountains, it reveals itself through patience, consistency, and the steady work of presence. You notice that chasing no longer brings satisfaction, that waiting no longer makes sense. Action flows naturally, from a place deeper than impulse or desire. This readiness is not born from comfort but from mastery. You have disciplined your attention, harmonized your thoughts, aligned your actions, and cultivated stillness. Every challenge faced, every habit refined, every moment observed has prepared you for this moment. And now the soul moves forward not in fear or hesitation, but with quiet confidence. When you allow instead of forcing, you find that the world responds in kind. Opportunities appear not as accidents, but as reflections of your inner alignment. Each step becomes intentional, each decision guided by clarity rather than reaction. You no longer measure progress by what others see, but by the depth of your own awareness. This is the mark of evolution, a soul stepping into its next chapter. You no longer cling to the past, no longer grasp for what is not yet arrived. You simply walk, grounded in trust, aligned with purpose, and open to the unfolding of life. That peaceful readiness is the ultimate sign. The transformation has already begun, and the path ahead is yours to inhabit fully, with courage, presence, and unwavering calm. As you move into this new space, remember that the journey is both outward and inward. You have learned to release what no longer serves you, to balance discipline with peace, and to trust the unseen currents guiding your life. Your body, mind, and awareness are beginning to move as one, creating a harmony that allows you to navigate change with calm and clarity. The sign of readiness is simple yet profound. When fear no longer holds you back, when stillness fills the spaces that once felt uncertain, and when your actions are guided by purpose rather than desire, you know you are aligned with your next chapter. This is not about escaping life, but stepping fully into it, with awareness, courage, and presence. Take these lessons into your daily life. Approach each moment with attention, honor your routines as acts of mastery, and allow change to flow through you rather than against you. Even the smallest act performed with mindfulness becomes a doorway to transformation. May you walk forward with calm confidence, carrying both strength and gentleness, and finding meaning in every step of your path. If this message resonates with you, join our community, like this video, and subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire, a place where wisdom meets the journey within. Let every breath guide you closer to the life you are ready to embody.